It's great to be here at SlatorCon Zurich 2018, and I'm here with Slator co-founder Florian Faes just to catch up with him about what's happening in the language industry. So Florian, can you tell me a bit about what is driving the growth in the localization industry?
Sure. I mean, overall, it's been a good year, I think, for the entire industry. Lots of growth in many areas. I just want to highlight a couple of areas, maybe three areas. First, I think we've talked a lot about media localization this year. We also had, the SDI Media CEO in San Francisco, at SlatorCon San Francisco. So that space is really growing very quickly, obviously driven by Netflix and the likes and Amazon and all of these content providers going global. That's number one. I think number two, you also have e-commerce really growing strongly. Companies like Alibaba are really expanding, for example, in Southeast Asia. So they buy companies like Lazada and invest in companies like Lazada. And so these types of languages also, when you go to India, these types of areas are growing pretty nicely. Very hard to capture that market, obviously, but it's good growth there. And then you also have adjacent areas such as language data and curating language data for obviously the machine learning, the machine translation applications. That's also a fast-growing sector, as we can see in the really skyrocketing share price of companies like Appen, and I also saw that Lionbridge is getting into that space now. So, obviously lots going on, but I just wanted to highlight those three areas.
Brilliant. And what factors do you think are driving M&A within the language industry in 2018? So
much M&A. We're barely catching up on all of those deals. So. What's driving it? I mean, generally just consolidation. There's still a pretty fragmented market despite all the M&A, but there's a number of private equity funds in the industry, so they need to deploy their capital and they need to make those buy and build strategies work. And also, I think some of the bigger players may find it a little hard to grow organically because some of them are already global and they're finding the going a little tough there on the organic side. So they try to boost some of that growth as well. And obviously, in the language industry, it's always relatively tempting to grow into a new market, a new geography, a new vertical by just buying a company instead of trying to do this greenfield and trying to do this on your own. So all those drivers together, plus still relatively low interest rates, and just generally a lot of buzz around M&A in the language industry. I think those are some of the key drivers there.
And lastly, what can you tell me about Slator's plans for 2019?
I'm glad you asked that question. Let me tell you more about Slator in 2019. So we're about to relaunch our website. We revamped it pretty heavily. It's going to look fresh and new. And we're also going to introduce a bunch of new features. We're also going to put up a tiny little paywall. So, every maybe 15th to 20th article is going to have a paywall. There's going to be a Slator Pro service that you can subscribe to as well. We're going to introduce a new daily email service for kind of, things that we're catching during our research, as you can subscribe to that. And then obviously we're going to continue doing SlatorCons. So we're going to go back to London in May 2019. We're going to head over to San Francisco, Silicon Valley. We haven't really decided yet, probably again San Francisco in September, and then come to Amsterdam in November 2019. So yeah, that's broadly the plan, and really looking forward to working on all of that.
Thank you.
Thank you.